Hey everybody! Today we're going to be talking about white privilege. I know we've talked about this before, but this guy, he just explains it so fucking goddamn well. I feel like we need to talk about it again. Let's take a little gander.
What's good? My name is TJ Kirk. Have you ever been called unprofessional for wearing your hair the way it naturally grows out of your scalp?
So, that is not what black women's hair looks like when the way it naturally grows out of their scalp. So right off the bat, the video's bullshit. I mean, maybe this is just a minor nitpick, but, like, you showed a woman with, like, I don't even know, like, sort of like, dreads. Not really dreads, though. Like, just that stupid little braided thing. Like, black women's hair, when it's just natural, is just huge, poofy, kinky, goes in every direction. Looks rather nice, in my opinion. But that's what it looks like. It doesn't look like what you just showed in that picture whatsoever. So right off the bat, you're a fucking liar, sir. But it's a minor lie.
Is your race accused of being terrorists for wearing scarves on their heads?
Muslims are not accused of being terrorists because they wear scarves on their heads. They're accused of being terrorists because, like, the top 10 countries with the most terrorist attacks are, like, 70% Muslim, and even the 30% that aren't Muslim-majority countries, most of the terrorist attacks that happen there are done by Muslim minorities. Muslims are responsible for a huge preponderance of terrorist attacks. Just huge percentage, and you'll see people on Google trying to claim like 90% of terrorist attacks are done by non-Muslims. Not true. That's like if you count every time a fucking Greenpeace activist calls a fucking, like, if you don't do this good ecological thing, we're gonna fucking whatever. Or, the animal rights activist calling the animal testing facility and saying, you guys are torturing animals, you're a piece of shit. You go to their house and fucking egg it or something. Oh, it's a terrorist attack. When it comes to real terrorist attacks, like blowing shit up and killing people, it's fucking almost all Muslims. And that's not to say that the majority of Muslims are terrorists, because they're not. But the majority of Muslims do believe some pretty fucked up shit. Like, they believe in Sharia law. Even some people who claim to be liberals say they support Sharia law. The most illiberal set of laws and rules ever fucking concocted. The penalty for stealing is having your fucking hand chopped off. If a woman is raped, you need 3 witnesses to prove it. 3 male witnesses. The court testimony of a woman counts for less than that of a man. Sharia law permits men to... Fuck. Permits them to cough obnoxiously in the middle of a fucking video. No, it permits them to marry children. There's a lot of things about Sharia law that... just really heinous, really evil. And if you look at the polls, country after country, majority Muslim countries, huge support for these fucking rules. And in fact, in some countries, they are the law. They're actually, it's actually practiced. So, there's a reason Muslims have a bad rap. It has nothing to do with the fucking headscarf. I mean, that's just a superficial whatever. You can wear whatever the fuck you want. Well, except for in a lot of these Muslim countries, you can't wear whatever you want, because if you don't wear the headscarf, you're in trouble. If you don't wear the hijab, the niqab, it depends on what country you're in trouble. There's countries where the only thing women are allowed to show in public are their eyes, and they have to be accompanied outdoors by a male escort. And if they're not, a lot of times... Islamic fundamentalists will kill women that they see unaccompanied outdoors because it's just not permitted in their fucking society. Now, that's not all of the Muslim world. There's different degrees of Islam. There's different sects of Islam. So anyone who just immediately sees someone wearing a fucking headscarf and says, oh my god, it's a terrorist, that person obviously is a fucking retard, shouldn't be taken too seriously. But if you're saying that Muslims have done nothing to contribute to their poor reputation, then I have to say that's just kind of dishonest.
Have you been stereotyped as a thug, terrorist, gang member, ghetto, lawn mowing guy, rapper, or immigrant for no reason at all when you were just like standing there? Well,
I actually am a rapper. I'm not a very good rapper, but I am a rapper. So
if you said no to most or all of those questions, then you, my friend, have what is called white privilege.
Do you have to do the hand gesture?
White privilege.
White privilege. I love it. It's nice. You know, nice little hand. Just gives your hands something to do while you're talking. You know, you don't have to sit there with your hands by your side. You get to white privilege. It's a lot of fun.
White privilege. Yes, Jacob, white privilege. He sings well. That's all the black privilege we get. Oh, and also he plays basketball.
Don't you get bigger dicks, too?
Y'all started with a basketball, y'all.
Ah.
But we're not talking about rapping, dancing, singing black privilege. We're talking about world-dominating, culturally appropriate.
Culturally appropriating. Is she appropriating the culture of ancient Egypt? Who gives a shit? There's no ancient Egyptians anymore. They're gone. That's why the very word is ancient. That ain't how modern Egyptians dress. In fact, that wasn't how modern Egyptians ever dressed at any time in history. That's just some crazy fucking theatrical, over-the-top bullshit. Like, if you saw anyone dressed like that in fucking Egypt, it would have been like a queen or some shit. Like, yeah, I'm all ornate and crazy. So, whatever. What culture is this appropriating? Who's going around looking like this? Other than fucking Katy Perry right now.
Appropriating, ruling almost every nation, white privilege. Now, what entire nation is white?
Wait a minute. You just bitched at Katy Perry for cultural appropriation, and now you got this black dude playing a white character, and like, yeah, we all us white people go around with stupid fucking hats. I mean, I guess you could call my hat stupid. I don't know. Maybe this is cultural appropriation because a lot of black guys like these, you know? But they all have suspenders, and one suspender's always undone and hanging fucking flap, fishing pants looking shit. And we all talk like this. This is how us white people is. That's okay. But Katy Perry dressing like a fucking long-dead Egyptian culture, that's a problem.
Privilege. I work for everything I ever got, I tell you what.
I'm sure you did, Mr. or Mrs. White Privilege, but your skin made it way easier. White privilege.
Yeah, dude. When you got white skin, you playing life on fucking easy mode, bitch. Tell it to all the homeless white people to go. Don't even fuck homeless. All right, fuck homeless. Tell it to the fucking people. Go to rural Kentucky sometime. Take your black ass to rural fucking Kentucky. Check out how them white people is living up there. All right. Tell them about their white privilege. You know, knock on one of their ramshackle meth shacks. And if you're lucky enough not to get fucking shot, maybe you could ask them about their white fucking privilege as you sit down in their fucking house that should have been condemned 50 fucking years ago.
Privilege means no one questions why you got into that really, really great school or how you got that really, really great job. It's just assumed that you're highly qualified. White
I didn't go to a really, really great school. In fact, I'm a high school fucking dropout. And the reason I have a great job is just because of the happenstance of I just happened to embrace this YouTube platform and some people embraced me. And I'm happy for it. It wasn't because I was white. I'm pretty sure that if I was a black guy like you, I'd have the same amount of shit. In fact, I'd probably have more shit because I could fucking do, like, race videos. Like, I mean, I already do race videos, but if I was a black guy saying it, then I also get like, see, he's saying it and he's black. Then I get all those people coming like, look, all the white people hiding behind, like, this is our black voice. I could do that. I could be that guy. get fucking way more views. I mean, like, honestly, like, black, fucking, it'd be fucking a huge benefit to be black. I would stand out from the crowd. Just being black, like, anything I fucking did on YouTube, it would just be like, yeah, he said this, and he said this, and he said this. It's like, who cares? And he's black. Whoa, a black dude was saying that? Cool. I gotta check that out. It's like the novelty of blackness. You get black novelty privilege. Quit whining. You're fucking. This video you made got 5 million views. You think if I as a white person made a video about black privilege, you think it'd get 5 million views? Hell no. You're already better than me at my own job just because you're fucking black.
Privilege is living in a country in which 87% of the lawmakers look like you, despite the fact that your race makes up nowhere near 87% of the country.
White.
Who gives a first of all, who gives a shit? When you have people representing you in fucking Congress and shit, the last fucking thing on my mind is something stupid like fucking race. I want them to be ideologically similar to me. I want them to have a similar value system to me. Their skin tone really doesn't make much of a difference. And so what if they're white? Do you think that because they're all white, somehow that power extends to me? Like some only slightly lesser version of their legislative powers are in my hands? Because, like, you think I can go up to any fucking congressperson and be like, hey, dog, you're white, I'm white, let's scratch each other's backs, you know what I'm saying? Gotta leave these darkies in the dust. That doesn't happen. They view you and me, dude, exactly the same. Dumbass constituents that they, if the only fucking thing they care about is, are you gonna vote for me? Are you gonna vote for me? Why aren't you gonna vote for me? You should vote for me. That's all they care about. They ain't doing me any favors just because they're white and I'm white. You know, it's like, hey, Oprah's rich. Is that money trickling down to the rest of the fucking black community? Don't think so.
Privilege is Googling the word beauty and it's showing hundreds of pictures of white women.
White privilege is Googling the word God and it's showing hundreds of pictures of white men.
Hundreds of pictures of white men. Well, I'm sorry. Okay, so you type in beauty and it's all white people. All right? I'm sure that's not even true. I'm pretty sure I saw some non-white people even on the screen you just pulled up. But even if that were true, you know, you still live in a world where the majority of English speakers are white. So, of course, if you type in the English word for beauty, it's going to be a bunch of white people. You know what? If you type in one of the African words for beauty, I don't know what they are because I'm not a fucking linguistic expert, I bet you'd see a bunch of black people. And if you didn't, then that's because apparently black people don't consider themselves to be beautiful. And that's on them. And you act like white people never jerk off to other races or something. Like, only white is beautiful. How many white people honestly believe that? Like, even the most fucking virulent fucking racist in the world. Well, maybe not the most virulent, but if you're just like, a pretty virulent racist might still have sex with a fucking hot enough Asian bitch or black bitch or whatever. He's sitting there in the bar, fucking goddamn minorities ruining shit. He sees some stacked-ass bitch come in, and her skin happens to be brown. You think he's gonna be like, nah. If she's that stacked and she's that good-looking, he's gonna be like, holy shit. My point of view just got a fuck of a lot more enlightened. At least for tonight. So, what is this idea, like, white people foster this idea that only white people can be beautiful? That's just not true. It's flat out untrue. It's horse shit. In fact, most of these fucking women that we now deify, like, how many like, you can't even say that Beyonce is not beautiful. Can't even say it. You're not even allowed to say. If you do, you whoosh, whoosh, huge backlash against you. And I happen to think she's pretty good looking. But, like, that's, like, constantly held up. She's so beautiful, she's so beautiful, she's so beautiful, she's so beautiful, she's so beautiful. Even black women who are not especially beautiful, like Michelle Obama. Like, I don't think she's hideously ugly. But she ain't fucking hot. But, you know, we gotta hear, oh, isn't she beautiful? Especially when she was still First Lady. Oh, she's so beautiful. First Lady's so beautiful. So this idea, oh, it's only white. As for the God thing, yeah, I mean, well, when you say God, most people, when they say God, are referring to the fucking Christian God. Christianity is a fucking, by and large, a white person's religion. So yeah, we made God white. What were we supposed to do? We're supposed to, when people were making up the bullshit concept of God, were they supposed to be like, yeah, and he's a black guy? You know, I guess they could have gone that direction, cast Samuel L. Jackson, been like, yeah, he's God, bitch. What about, you know, that one of the most popular cinematic depictions of God was Morgan Freeman, for fuck's sake. And by the way, when that movie came out, was white America fucking incensed and outraged? Like, how dare they portray God as a black man? I'm sure there were some fucking racists that said that. Most people didn't give a shit. And I especially don't give a shit, because I don't even believe in God. It's just a fictional character they made up. Like, it's almost like bitching, like, why the fuck is Harry Potter white? Who gives a fuck who gives a fuck what color Harry Potter is? Who gives even 1/5 of a fuck? It's the same with God. And you don't have to believe in a white God. The whole thing about God is, since it's made up, you can make him any color you want. God can be fucking purple with pink polka dots if that's what you fucking want him to be. Better yet, he doesn't exist.
White privilege means you don't have to worry about being monitored in the store because you look like you steal stuff.
White privilege is being 6 times less likely to be arrested than black people.
So, okay, first of all, I've been looked at the store, and I've been pulled aside at the airport and all that shit. So, whatever. What was the next one? Something about, oh, you're way more likely to get arrested. Yeah, well, maybe that has something to do with the fact, and I hope that you don't mind me saying so, but maybe this has something to do with the fact that black people commit more crimes. Maybe. You know, is it fucking possible? You know, when a huge percentage of murders are considered by committed by black people, way higher rates of theft, way higher rates of all violent crimes, pretty much. But don't factor that in. Just look at the arrests. Oh, obviously these cops are fucking biased. Well, maybe some of them are biased or racist or bigoted or whatever. But for the most part, black people just happen to commit more fucking crime. Now, there's exceptions. There's areas where the justice system might be a little stacked against black people. But for the most part, when you're talking about that statistic, like 6 times more likely to get arrested, we'll just say, yeah, but you're 5 times more likely to commit crimes. That's not an exact statistic. That's just something I'm pulling out of my ass. It could even be more. But, yeah, more likely to commit crimes. So, yeah, it makes sense, more likely to be arrested. One kind of follows the other. You can't just leave that information out because you don't like the way it depicts you.
Privilege is your history being taught as a part of the core curriculum and mine being offered as an elective.
White privilege is...
You know, I don't really have much of an objection to that. If you want to teach a broader history of the world, I do think that, particularly here in America, we focus way too much on American history. Not that it's not important. American history is fine. It's great. It's important. We need to understand our country. But there should be more time devoted to world history and other cultures and shit like that, because we need to understand the entirety of the human condition. That's what history is supposed to be for. So yeah, I actually kind of agree with that.
Reading a history book that doesn't start off with you being a slave or a barbaric savage.
But you were slaves, right? I mean, black people, the majority of black people here in this country today were descended from slaves. So is that really such a weird place for it to fucking start? Like, the beginning of the story of black people in America is slavery. So if you're teaching American history, then yeah, you're going to be introduced as, and then there were the slaves. Because that's what fucking happened. What do you want to... You want to rewrite the history books? Like, and then, you know... Malcolm X founded America, and then lo, the white interlopers came. You know, like, what? As for the brutal savages, that wasn't my curriculum at all. If anything, we were beaten over the heads with, like, feel bad about how the Indians were treated. Oh my God, Trail of Tears. Oh my God, so oppressed. It used to be their land, and we took it, and we're bad. That was the history lesson I got.
White privilege is being able to teach history only from the perspective of the colonizer.
Speaking of colonization, white privilege is being able to get lost at sea thinking you're going to India, end up somewhere else that already had millions of people, and still be credited as discovering the country.
Well, as far as Europeans were concerned, they did discover the country. Let me ask you this. If some Africans had built a ship and sailed across the ocean blue and reached America, don't you think that they would say, we discovered this continent for Africa? Yeah, they sure would. Doesn't matter, there's already people there, because those are the locals. Obviously, they know about it. But you're bringing back news like, hey, guess what, guys? There's like a whole other giant landmass over yonder. We sailed for a while, we fucking found it. Check it out.
In fact, white privilege is when anything that you didn't know about is a new discovery as soon as you notice it.
Well, how's that white privilege? Yeah, everything's a new discovery once you find it. It's new to you. That's it's all relative. I mean, what are you fucking talking about? Like, is that not the case for black people? Like, could a black person not say, dude, I just discovered this new movie? Yeah, what do you mean you discovered it? Other people have seen that movie before. Like, what is this semantic horse shit? This has 5 million views. This piece of shit has 5 million views for this shitty video in 3 days. And I languish in fucking relative obscurity. What a sick, sad, dark, bleak, depressing world.
White privilege means the ability to protest racism, ask for equality, and not be considered a hate group. White privilege is all.
What? All right, man, I'm assuming you're saying that you're mad because Black Lives Matter is classified as a hate group, which they're not by any like official metric. It's just a lot of people view them that way, and the reason for that is because we've all seen interviews with Black Lives Matter protesters where they're literally saying "fuck white people," all white people are racist, all white people are inherently racist, and just all this horseshit. There's even been cases of Black Lives Matter activists going on Twitter and saying kill all white people or fuck all white people or whatever. So you want to constantly insult and attack me and people like me because my skin's a different color, but you don't want to be called racist. You don't want to be called hateful. Well, too fucking bad. If you don't want to be called racist and hateful, then quit attacking people just for being white. Seems pretty fucking easy to do.
Also, having a hate group like the KKK be listed as a non-violent Christian organization and not have the rest of your race be labeled as terrorists.
The reason that the KKK at this point are labeled non-violent is because what have they done recently? Like, okay, yeah, I understand during the heyday of the KKK, they used to go around lynching people and attacking people and all kinds of horrible stuff, but now pretty much they're an obscure organization that goes around, they go hang out with other white people, and they're like, man, fuck niggers. Fuck them. And then that's it. That's all they do. They get drunk, they go home. I suppose maybe at some point they throw Jesus in there. So yeah, they are non-violent at this point. I haven't heard of the KKK organizing a lynching or an attack for decades. Decades. All right.
White privilege is not having your application thrown out because your name is weird. In fact, white privilege is when anything that's not regular or common to your race is weird.
White privilege.
Okay. I think at this point, it's not like, you know, if you're fucking reading an application and it says like Jamal Hubadiah, whatever bullshit, that's not like gonna be weird. You're just gonna know like, oh, that's a black dude. And yeah, maybe there's some racists out there that see that like, oh, we ain't hiring no Jamal. Get that shit out of here. But for the most part, I mean, like, I don't think that's happening that much. I guess there's been some studies done that argue that it has, and perhaps I'll make a video taking a closer look at one of those. But I don't feel like your video is particularly rich with resources and citations, so I don't really feel like I need to be either. But, you know, maybe that is a problem with that, but what are you really going to do about it? Like, if a private business owner just passes up Jamal's fucking application, it's his right to hire who the fuck he wants. Now, maybe there's government standards that say you got to hire this many of this race or whatever, and okay, fine, he'll have to abide by that. But if his natural reaction is Jamal, fuck that shit, I mean, do you really want to fucking work for him anyway? Do you really want to fucking have a boss who's a racist that hates you because of the color of your skin? Like, I know I wouldn't want to work for some black dude who was a black supremacist who was like, fuck all white people and white people are scum. I think it would be beneath my dignity to work for such a person, but maybe that's just my white privilege yet again, right?
Privilege is being able to walk into a church, kill 8 people, then be walked out by police and taken to Burger King.
White privilege is not
He went to Burger King? I didn't know they took him to Burger King. I mean, maybe he hadn't eaten in a while, you know? Maybe he was just hungry, you know? Killing 8 people. Fucking, you get that flame-broiled craving, dude. I don't know what to tell you.
the celebration of your entire race's contributions to the world relegated to just 1 month because we talk about the cool stuff your ancestors did every month.
What?
Well, I mean, like, in fairness, we did a lot more stuff. I mean, let's be real. Like, if you took all black inventions away, yeah, that would diminish the world. Black people have invented some stuff. Black people have done some impressive things. First open heart surgery and, you know, whatever. But like, if we took all white inventions out of the world, like, the world would just, as you know it, wouldn't even fucking exist. And I'm not even making a case here like white superiority or anything. In fact, I've made videos specifically refuting people who try to use white accomplishments to make that case. I just did a video called Let's Talk About Race, where I delve really deeply into that. But the fact of the matter is that there's a shitload more fucking white accomplishments, especially in terms of technological innovation, than there are black ones. And maybe that'll change. Maybe like 1,000 years from now, it'll be more equal or whatever. But right now, like, we just happen to have the big industrial revolution. If the industrial revolution had happened in Africa, then we would be talking about all the great contributions of black people to technology and to the modern world. But it didn't, so we don't.
Privilege means you want to be told to go back to your country.
White privilege is being...
What do you mean I won't be told to go back to my country? A Native American could say that to me. They could say, you know, give us back our land. Get the fuck out. I mean, I would say, no, fuck you. You lost. It's ours now.
being able to come to a country and literally massacre 90% of the indigenous people and then enslave the other 10% and then say it is your God-given manifest destiny to shine from sea to shining sea, so you continue to slaughter the whole country and then give it your own name and your own laws, and yet you are never called a terrorist or a warmongering murderer or a psychopath, but instead you get your face literally carved on the side of the very mountains in which you stole, and thereby glorified forever as not a deranged killer, but a founding father who did something courageous and beautiful.
Well, the founding fathers did do a lot of courageous, beautiful things, and yeah, I don't think it's unfair to classify them as terrorists. They rebelled against the government that they once swore loyalty to. and yeah, they killed a bunch. But why are you describing this all as if it's my white privilege? Like I could do that. Like I could go to a country and kill a bunch of people and fucking rename it like this is TJ fucking Topia, bitch. And people would just be like, he's a hero, he's great. He's awesome, put him on a mountain. No. That's not my privilege. That was the privilege of a select few men who existed fucking, 200, 300 years ago. That was their shit. I didn't get to do that. I don't get to do that. What my privilege is being berated for that. And, when you say they're not called terrorists and they're not this and everyone feels this way about them, aren't you right now expressing an alternate point of view that got you 5 million views and tons of people saying they agree with you? So obviously, it's not just universally believed that the Founding Fathers are great and everything they did was awesome. It's just not. There's also your perspective that's totally allowed to exist in the public conversation. So how do you work around that?
We move forward if we dwell on the past. Plus, I mean, there were white slaves in America too, right?
Little nigga, no, it was not.
Well, not quite, but there were indentured servants.
Yeah.
And in the slave codes of 1705, especially in the act concerning servants and slaves, colonial rulers so graciously awarded the poor whites certain legislated privileges.
In fact, Chet, tell them what they won.
A small plot of land, wages after their sentence was over, the right to sue masters in court, and exemption from public whipping for punishment. While at the
Cool. One thing you don't mention, and it's actually something I've mentioned before too, is that because of these rules stipulating that indentured servants had to be freed and given plots of land and all that, a lot of masters would diligently attempt to make sure that indentured servants didn't live through their 7 years of service. They tried to make it to where, you would die from either exhaustion or some other means, because they didn't want to give away land and all that stuff. They just wanted you to be dead because then they don't have to pay you. So, yeah, it wasn't all, being an indentured servant wasn't all it was cracked up to be. It wasn't fun. It wasn't happy. And, the kind of stuff you're talking about was really part of a strategy by the ruling rich elite of the time to get the races to go at each other's throats so that we stop paying attention to how the rich are fucking all of us. Like, okay, we'll fuck the white people a little less and say, you white people, you're slightly better than the black people, even though you're poor. Okay? So then they have to fight amongst each other, and it's like, yeah, I may be a poor piece of shit that's exploited every day of my life, but at least I'm not black. If that's like a privilege, then whatever. It's not a privilege. It's a tactic designed to have people at each other's throats. And look, it's still working.
At the same time, the legislator wrote down the laws which provided the institutionalized foundations for chattel slavery for Africans.
What's in the chattel slavery package, Chet?
Well, all sorts of horrible things like pulling apart families, sending children, mothers, and fathers in 3 different directions, free beatings for speaking in your native tongue, casual lynchings and public beatings, rape, and many other atrocities for a couple hundred years.
Okay. And of course, white people are the only person to engage, or only group of people, the only race in history to ever engage in this sort of behavior, right? No other race ever enslaved anybody. Surely not. Oh, wait. Every single race has enslaved other races and other groups of people. Sometimes people just enslave their other members of their own race. Like, you're a slave because you're poor and I'm rich. That's how history's worked. I hate to dust off this old chestnut, but yeah, we got our first African slaves sold to us by other Africans who were already using them as slaves. Like, hey, white people, we got these slaves from this neighboring village that we captured. You want them? We'll sell them to you. And we were like, slaves? Cool. Cheap labor. All right. Yeah, but they were already enslaved there. And there was even points in history where white people were enslaved by black people, like the Moors, that enslaved Spain and parts of Italy and shit. And, you know, the Moors weren't entirely black, but many of them were black. The majority of them, I believe, were black, dark-skinned people enslaving white, fair-skinned people. So this slavery thing goes on today. Like, there's people women who are white who are currently sex slaves in the Middle East due to human trafficking and shit. So slavery is not over. It doesn't target any one race specifically, and it doesn't get committed by one race exclusively. Every race has people in it who are slaves. Every race has people in it who have enslaved. And all throughout history, the human species have been doing this. There's rules for slavery in the fucking Bible, for fuck's sake. So this fucking acting like, man, slavery was this thing that existed only at one time throughout history, and it was white people enslaving black people, and that's all slavery ever was. What a narrow, disgustingly stupid view of slavery. And by the way, what about all the white people who died to abolish slavery? Yeah, I mean, like, it wasn't like the slaves had an uprising and said, you know what, time for us to fucking not put up with this shit anymore. We're going to destroy the white people. We're going to free ourselves. No, it was white people who said, you know what, slavery's fucking wrong and evil, and we better put an end to it. White people in America put an end to the institution of slavery in America. So a fucking tradition that had existed for thousands of years, that was even written about in the Bible, it was America that said, you know what, fuck that shit, and we had to fight a war over it, because not everyone agreed, but ultimately we won. And yes, the Civil War wasn't entirely about slavery, but it's one of the huge factors. Most of the southern states that seceded because they believed Lincoln to be too much of an abolitionist. Would he have actually been much of an abolitionist if they hadn't seceded? That's really, who knows. But that's why. So this historical context you're providing is just dog shit. What it all boils down to.
So bad it's almost good. Really?
Of course not. From that time on throughout U.S. history, to be white, even to be poor and white, has meant to have access to certain forms of preferential treatment or privilege.
Really? Like what? Oh.
Now, this is not said to make white people feel guilty about their privilege. It's not your fault you were born white skinned, and I get it. You're not your ancestors. But whether you realize it or not, you do benefit from it, and it is your fault if you...
Like how? Give me an example. I mean, you listed a bunch of bullshit examples earlier. I'm assuming you're saving the real examples for later in the video.
Do not maintain awareness of that fact.
Okay.
White privilege is absolutely a thing.
No, it's
and
not.
Being able to deny the fact that it is a thing simply because it doesn't affect you is even a further testament to its...
I thought it did affect me. You were just saying I benefit from it all the time. I mean, which, by the way, not a great argument for me to want to condemn something. Hey, you've got all these fucking great privileges just because of the color of your skin. It's like, holy shit, my life already sucks. I better hold on to this fucking privilege. Shit. But you know what? Even if white people do have white privilege, why is your solution to that, we got to get rid of this privilege that white people have? Shouldn't your solution be, we need to extend this privilege that white people have to everyone else? Doesn't that make more sense if you really believe in the concept of white privilege? I think it does.
Existence. Our world has been purposefully skewed in the favor of white people. And no, you aren't responsible for your...
How? When? Where? Why? Like, I understand. Yeah, look, if you were saying this shit when there was still slavery, I'd be like, you got a point. If you were even saying this shit when there was still segregation, I'd say, you know what, you got a point. But at this point, what fucking... I mean, like, you've had black presidents, black four-star generals, black secretaries of state, black senators, black congressmen, black mayors, black fucking... the halls of power have been host to powerful black people. And, you know, in the same way that having white people in the halls of power doesn't somehow magically bestow some betterness onto my life, you're just discovering that it doesn't magically bestow any betterness onto your life either. Because guess what? When it comes to elected officials and representatives and shit, we should care about what they believe, not what color their skin is.
ancestors' doings. However, if we do not recognize the problem, then we can never truly remedy it. The first step to enlightenment is awareness of the darkness.
Okay.
If we truly want to live as one, we must first create a world that is good for all.
All right, so you and I both do the same thing. You're making videos, I'm making videos. You're apparently getting 5 million views on a single video, and I get about 5 million views, give or take. Mostly give, I guess, in any given month. So, you're doing better than me, and we have the same job, so should I assume that that's because you have black privilege? Or should I admit to myself that maybe there's something you're doing better? Or what? You know, personally, I think it's black privilege.
I love
That's why I wish I was black. Well, thank you for loving me, but that was terrible. That was terrible, Archduke, I guess. Archduke! Wow, what a horrendous video. Thank you for making it so that I could make this response and probably get a bunch of views. I really appreciate it. If you're someone watching this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, and praise me as God. Peace.